So I've been shooting nightclub photography for like 7 years now, so I thought why not today give you guys a full guide on how to shoot nightclub photography. But first, oh, I needed that. I actually need that. This is my poison. Most people like coffee. This is what I have. Oh, it's so good. So I'm going to go through everything from gear to camera settings to composition to what to expect, do's and don'ts. So if you're about to go into nightclub photography, make sure to stay tuned because you're going to want to hear this. I first of all want to start by mentioning the importance of nightclub photography. Now there obviously is a reason for it, to not only capturing the night for you guys to look back on and remember for in the future, it is also the nightclub's way of helping promote themselves through social media. And using them photos for a marketing purpose is a big deal for a company. Okay, so camera gear. What camera gear are you going to need? Starting off is your camera body. Now a lot of people get in the nightclub photography job from starting out in photography, and that is exactly what I did. It was actually one of my first paid shoots, and 7 years down the line I'm still doing it. You're obviously going to be shooting in low light, so maybe a mirrorless camera will be better for you to shoot on. I currently now use the Canon R5, but the camera that I started with was my Canon 750D, which is over there. Let me go grab it. It is dusty. Jeez. So this is the camera that I actually first started shooting on, and honestly I shot on this for like 5 years, and I couldn't have picked a better camera, and I couldn't recommend a better beginner camera. This is not a mirrorless camera, but if you do have the option to get a mirrorless one, I would probably go for that one, due to obviously shooting in low light, and with being a mirrorless camera it can perform just that little bit better. For the lenses that I use, I literally have only been using one, and that is my Canon 17-40 f4 lens. Now there is one issue with that. Obviously the aperture can't go down any lower. Starting out in photography gear is expensive, and this was in my budget at the time. Honestly, I've never had to change it, because the main reason that I got this lens is because of the 17mm wide lens. Put it this way, you go into a nightclub, it's busy, you're shoulder to shoulder. How do you think you're going to get a photo using a 50mm or something around that? Quick answer: it's going to be hard. You're obviously going to need to step back quite a lot, and being surrounded by drunk people, they're just going to keep walking in front of you, and you're just never going to get the shot. So you're definitely going to want a wide lens. Obviously, depending on how big the nightclub is, you might end up wanting to use a more of a longer lens, zoomed lens, maybe something on the lines of my Canon 24-70. That way you're going to be able to zoom in from a distance, but keep swapping them lenses. It can be quite of a dangerous job, especially in the middle of the dance floor. Hence why I always stick to just that one lens, because it's managed to do everything that I wanted it to do without missing a shot. And the last piece of equipment that you're going to definitely need is an external flash. Now I'm not going to go over how to use a flash, but what I will say is this: expose the camera for the background and expose the flash to expose for your subject. The camera settings is definitely one that I had to learn myself. I've actually found that the settings that I use and I have been using are very bizarre settings. So starting off with the aperture, you really want to go as low as you can. Obviously you're going to be shooting in a low light, so as low as your lens will allow you, I would always go with that. As I mentioned earlier, my lens that I use only goes down to f4. For the ISO, obviously you're going to be shooting in low light, but you want to still keep that as low as you can. And after a lot of trial and error, I found that ISO 400 works best for the rest of my settings. And for the shutter speed, I keep it on 1/10. I know that is a very low shutter speed, but with the flash paired with that, it actually freezes the subject to create a sharp image. Damn, I never thought I'd actually be telling people my camera settings for nightclub work. I had to literally find all that out this myself. There was no videos on YouTube at the time to help me with this, so I really do hope this helps. I just quickly want to mention that these are the settings that I use. This doesn't necessarily mean that these are the correct settings to use. If you are starting out, I would definitely experiment and see what works for you. Some people prefer to go with a higher shutter speed and a higher ISO, but they are the settings that I've discovered to work best for me. So for the kind of photos you want to take, first of all you need to discuss that with whoever's employed you, but it tends to go somewhere along these lines. First of all, portraits of people walking around the club, asking if people want the photo. People will come to you if they want the photo, but I will say this: if someone does ask you to delete that photo, make sure you delete it. They're drunk at the end of the day. As a night out goes, there's a lot of things that people do regret the next day. Some other photos that you might be asked to get is some crowd photos. So basically you want to step back from the crowd and capture everyone have a good time. Now you really want to listen to the music at this time, because once the beat drops, that's when people are going to have their hands in the air and screaming, shouting, showing a lot of emotion. Also, it will be a good idea to chat with the DJ to ask them if there's going to be some sort of confetti cannon or something along them lines. That way you're going to have a heads up when that type of scene happens. Also with crowd shots, I've actually discovered a way to shoot more of a, how can I put it, exciting way of shooting them. Instead of taking a step back, I tend to find someone who's having a really good time, who's dancing a lot. I then take something that's called a slow sync flash photo, which is basically where you turn your shutter speed down quite a lot more and take the photo whilst turning your camera or moving your camera in a funny way. That way, with the lights in the background, the lights are going to basically trail and make some sort of cool trailing effect with your subjects dancing. It can look really good if you get it right. But I'm not gonna lie, these are quite hard to get. It takes me, even today, it takes me a few times to get a shot that I really like, but the outcome can be really cool. After 7 years of doing this, there's definitely a lot of things that have been learned, especially with like interacting with people and how you should interact with them. Obviously, in a nightclub, enjoy yourself, be professional, but have a good time. You want to be approachable. You don't want people being scared of coming to you to ask for a photo. Also, just don't act like a creep. You definitely want to be protective of your camera gear. Obviously, drunk people or people in general don't really understand how expensive camera gear is, and sometimes bump into you, maybe try and grab your lens, and sometimes even have their drink poured all over your camera. I'm not gonna lie, that's happened to me a fair few times, and it still can happen to me today. You just gotta be really careful. Now, depending on who's hired you, they might want the photos the same night or either the next day. For my case, it's always been the same night, and to be fair, that's always worked fine for me, because once I've took the photos, I want to get it to the client as soon as possible. And once again, after 7 years of doing this, I have got a lot quicker at doing this. I tend to use the preset method. I've made a few presets, and depending on what night I shoot is depending on what preset I use. But basically, once all the photos are on my computer and imported into Lightroom, I highlight all of the photos, add the preset to them, then go through every single one and adjust the light, because obviously the light is not going to be exactly the same on every photo you shoot. If you're just starting out doing this, it can take a while. Like, it used to take me a few hours. Now it only takes me like 1 or maybe 1.5, depending on how busy the night is. But yeah, I think that covers everything. Well, final pointer. Prepare to see a lot of things, because going into a nightclub sober, you tend to see a lot of things. And when I mean a lot of things, I mean I've seen it all. But once again, just be respectful and do the right thing. If someone needs to be thrown out, get the security, don't engage it with yourself, and don't put yourself at danger. Well, I hope that helps you all, and I hope that's put more of a clearer mindset on how to shoot nightclub photography. If you do have any questions, then make sure you put it down in the comments below, and I'll be sure to answer them. If this video has helped you, then make sure you drop a like. It is very much appreciated. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit subscribe. This channel's all about photography and lifestyle, so if you want to see more stuff like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thank you all for watching, and I guess I'll see you next time. Safe.